Aloha, everybody. This is Cathy Bilsky, the Quantum Leap Light Unite show on UPRN Radio. And this is Friday, September 4th, 2020. How are y'all doing tonight? Today I have put together what I call an eclectic show. So it's a little bit of this, a little bit of that, all for your entertainment enjoyment. This is Labor Day weekend for people in the United States, and I'm actually a product of the union. My father was in the UAW, and for those that you don't know what that means, it's United Auto Workers for like 35 years. So I'm going to talk about that, and because it's such a crazy time, I thought I would share with you how to help a loved one make transition. And another subject would be the black magic being used in the world of sports. And, you know, you don't necessarily have to be the world of sports. You can put in your business, school, whatever. But I know a lot of people that are athletes, so I kind of directed this at them. And a little bit reminder about what's happening with Fukushima and the radiation that we're breathing all the time. And I hope I can close out with something a little funny, but we'll see how much time we have. So I wanted to start off with the UAW, United Auto Workers, and unions. And I really want to say a big thank you to the unions, for I wouldn't have had such a good life. And this is my way of giving back. So sit down, enjoy, and listen. Listen and enjoy. My dad's name is Frank Louis Bilsky, and he would have been, oh my gosh, like 110 now if he was still alive. My dad worked for Cadillac Detroit division for 35 years. He was a skilled tool and die man, UAW member, blue-collar worker, and very pro-union. He lived on the east side of Dearborn, Michigan, the hometown of Henry Ford. Ford had their headquarters just down the street from us. In practical terms, that meant Ford paid out some mighty high taxes to the city of Dearborn, so the city lacked for nothing. My schools were built like castles with indoor pools. There seemed to be a park every few blocks, a big ice skating rink in the winter, and a community center with a big indoor roller skating rink. Then we had Camp Dearborn. That was an hour away out in the country that had lakes, rides, camping, and weekend dancing. My dad chose well, and the majority of our neighbors were factory workers for one of the many auto companies that were in the state of Michigan. That's what people did. They worked in the car factories in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and a little bit into the 80s. So many of us grew up thinking that we would follow in our father's footsteps by getting hired in one of the many auto plants that was in Michigan. It was a normal thought of the children of that union members had. Well, why not follow in your parents' footsteps? For they were making some really good money that was shared with their families. And, you know, I just want to mention everybody, I know I don't look at, but I am 67. So, you know, it gives you an idea how far back, you know, I grew up in the 50s and the 60s and 70s and la la la. My friends and I had a pet name for those that worked in the automobile factories, and that was factory rats. People who can handle routine of doing something over and over again. Of course, all those factory rats just laughed, for they all had homes, new cars, new boats, snowmobiles. Remember, I grew up in Michigan. And all that, the play toys grown-up men and women wanted to buy. They were living the life of the upper middle class that worked like hell to earn it. Another positive point I have to say about union members, they shared their wealth with the local businesses. No hoarding like the top 1% who seem to get great pleasure of the mass fortunes they have, sitting safe off in their offshore bank accounts union members shared the wealth. I remember growing up, my father telling me stories about he and others picketed for their rights. It was not easy, and many fights broke out between the workers and the automobile companies. My father was hit on the head during one of those times on the picket line that sent him to the hospital, and probably kept him out of World War II. He said he was told he was too skilled to be sent off to fight. I'm so proud of my dad standing up for his and others' rights. If it wasn't for the tenacity combined with much courage, you would not have what you have now in the unions. Needless to say, when you had to fight so hard for your rights with the coming together of people uniting as one and winning and getting your head bashed in to achieve your goals, well, our house was pro-union, and you could not talk the union down at all. And if you did, bad move on your part. Dad would remind you in a very loud voice of all the great things the union achieved. My dad was skilled labor and made pretty good money that I took for granted. It was little. We had our home in Dearborn. Then my dad invested in some cabins in the Upper Peninsula that we rented out during the summers and, of course, during hunting season. Looking back, we had our winter home and our summer home on a small lake where I got to spend my summers growing up. I would have to say we were upper middle class folk. We lived simply, yet lacked for nothing. My dad paid off both of these properties during his run at Cadillac. There we go. I remember my dad working a lot. Well, why wouldn't he? Getting paid time and a half after a 40-hour work week was good money. Nowadays, you got double and triple time for holidays. Hardly anyone refused holiday time. I do remember when the paychecks came in, how my dad would complain on how much taxes were taken out, so it was hardly worth putting the time in. Yet I don't remember him refusing holiday work either. When they asked him to work weekends, he did. The pay was good. When you're paid well, you don't mind putting in the extra hours. Back then, you were rewarded for your work. A strong union was responsible for that. Back then, my dad worked so much that I think the auto layoffs were a little welcome, as long as they didn't go on for too long. Everyone complained, but then had time in their lives to go hunt and fish. If it went on for too long, everyone was counting their pennies, waiting for the factories to start back up, calling everyone back to work. Strikes and layoffs were just part of our lives. Strikes were a pain in the ass. I can only imagine the stress the strikers went through. While the strike was going on, the beers in the house flowed freely as people got together to play cards to keep busy, listening to the news. Strike talk was the only conversation in the house as everyone was on edge, waiting for it to be over soon. However, everyone knew it meant that they would get a raise of some kind. The union bargainers were exceptionally brilliant and successful. They knew how to win against the big three auto companies. I do remember a few UAW strikes that seemed to go on for many weeks, with many of Dad's factory friends wondering how they would make it through. Then, like after a very bad storm, the sun comes out, new contracts are signed, people go back to work, and it all goes back to normal. I remember my dad did have a lot of vacation time, which he worked hard for during those midnight shifts. I asked him why he liked the midnight shifts, for it was hard to sleep during the day, with all those days noises happening, barking dogs, yelling kids, normal neighborhood stuff. My dad answered that the midnight shift was much easier, for you saw very few bosses. Oh, and it was easier to sneak out that special tool he made, or a part that was needed for some new project of his. Oh, you ask? In his toolbox, or wrapped up in a newspaper. Then he simply walked out to the car. Things were pretty lax back then. Never said my dad was a perfect angel, now did I? So let's get back to talking about vacation time. If it wasn't for the bargaining power of unions, my dad would not have gotten hunting season off. Yes, he was an avid hunter and fisherman. Michigan. Now I realize how well we really ate, for much of our food was from all the hunting and fishing trips the men in our family went on. I remember being up north at the cabins during the summer with my mother and only saw my dad on long weekends, for he worked so much. Then it was off to the river to fish. As he worked his way up the ranks, Dad would also get Christmas, Easter, New Year's Day off, unless he needed to make that extra money, overtime money. The longer my dad worked for Cadillac, the better his benefits got. The family had health care, for it seemed like someone was always going to the doctor for anything and everything. When you had good medical and dental with a small deductible, you could afford to see the doctor and dentist and get the eye care you needed, all taken care and paid for through the unions. Awesome contracts that included family health care. You also had paid sick leave that you could use up or accumulate. How many times were sick days used to go up snowmobiling in the Upper Peninsula at the cabin? If my memory serves me, a lot. Factory work was far from easy. I would see my dad down that highball whiskey, and highball is whiskey and 7-Up, right after he got home from the midnight shift, relax and calm his nerves. People weren't pot smokers back then, so drinking was a thing to do. This was normal in my house. By the time noon came around, Dad had probably down 2, maybe 3 highballs to help him get to sleep. Sleep, his 8 hours, then get up to go to work. That was that midnight shift as the cycle started again. As I said, factory work was intense. Dad finally retired from Cadillac Detroit Division after 35 years of service at the age of 62. I asked him why he was retiring early, for back then, normal retirement was 65. My dad looked at me calmly and said that all his friends that retired at 65 died within 6 months of retirement. I cannot tell you how many people tell me 40 years later that this still holds to be true. Based on that brilliant observation, my dad retired at 62 and lived till 82, receiving his full pension. He was truly one of the lucky ones and was taken care of in his retirement years because of the awesome bargaining of the United Auto Workers. He lacked for nothing and taught me how to share the wealth with family. I think when you're a blue-collar worker, you have a different understanding about money. And unlike wealthy people who hoard their money, my dad shared his pension with his family when they were in need. He worked hard, paid off his 2 homes, and had no debts to speak of when he retired. I remember him putting that accumulated retire money back into all of his children. He had 5. Really, Dad, way to go. So when he died, there was just enough money to pay for the funeral. I mean, how perfect can that be? You were not a hoarder, Dad, and it's said that whatever money you had left in your bank account when you die is all those extra hours you didn't need to work. You zeroed yourself out by sharing the wealth before you passed. which allowed you to experience that joy of giving to others in need, especially your children and grandchildren, and see the good that pension money did. If it wasn't for the union and all achieved, I would not have had such an amazing, blessed life that I did. It gave my dad freedom to live the dream. He understood family and shared what he made with us. Trust me, he had his faults. Who didn't back then? He did show me how important unions are and what can happen when a group of people come together in unity to help uplift each other. Our life was generated through hard-fought battles on the picket line. My dad made his stand with many others, and they won many hard-earned rights that the companies have learned now how to go around to stop workers from receiving a fair income. What a chess game that seems to be played between unions and big business. Because of unions and my dad making it through 35 years in Cadillac, I got to live the middle-class dream life, which back then was not a dream, but a reality in action. And I've learned over the years that they now call this what I lived, the golden years of the union. And it is so true. And you're actually seeing people all over the world now come together and protest be released from confinement for this crazy COVID-19. All right, so we're going to move on. And I want to talk about next how to help a loved one make transition. And I wrote this when my dear sister passed. And I hope my story can actually help you if you're going and experience a loved one that's dying. And I simply call it How to Help a Loved One Make Transition. This is not easy for me to write about helping your loved ones make transition, because that means I have to relive my sister's passing again. That makes me cry. And I've been crying on and off all day. We all have human moments. The tears started to come as soon as Spirit told me I needed to write about my experience helping her let go. Now, I'm not talking about euthanasia. I'm talking about sending the sick person the energy in such a way that it helps them release their souls on their own time. Many people are choosing to leave the earth, making transition in many ways, some quicker than others. Let's face it, no matter how long you're on this planet, 40 years, 70 years, or 700 years, we all will make transition, leaving our physical bodies behind for one of light. All of us. We have forgotten how to help people make transition in a gentle, kind, peaceful release. I will share with you what I did to help my sister Carol release from her body when it was time. How did I know it was time? Well, her body was shutting down. Fluid was forming around her heart, and she lost all motor movements, as well as having no more interest in food. She was also scared of what was to happen next. It sucks when your body is gone and your brain is still active and functioning. You feel everything and totally hopeless because you no longer have physical control of your body that makes you dependent on people for everything. This is still hard, as I read this. I am experiencing this, and sorry if I sound like I'm going to cry, because I am. When I realized her body was shutting down, the hardest choice I had to make was to stop sending her any healing energy to prolong her distress. I called to her higher self and asked to be guided as to what to do to help her, and asked that she receive the energy work if it was for her highest good. I cut ties with whatever was holding her to stay in physical form, whether it was a person, including any family member that she was attached to, or the people that were attached to her. By cutting all of those ties, her soul is not being compelled to stay in the physical. I had a lot of her pictures packed between slices of the healing stone angelite, and I took those off her pictures. I was now releasing her from all my energy work that I've been doing and sending her for all these years. I called to Carol's angels that work with her to send her something that would bring her much joy when she was not conscious. In this case, my sister thought that the movie actor Chuck Norris was a hottie. So I called forth many images of him so she could pick one that worked best for her in dream time, of course. I also asked that her spirit help her show her many beautiful pictures of all the new possibilities that awaited her on the other side. I wanted her to see the beauty that would bring her heart peace and joy. I called to all of her friends and relatives of Carol's that have already passed over to become forth and visit her, guiding her towards the light when she finally let go of her physical body. Oh. I also worked with the hospital staff as much as I could and asked her to give her whatever drugs she needed to make herself comfortable and out of pain. At this point, it's about the quality of life, not prolonging someone's pain and discomfort. And I'm only asking for what I would like to experience when my time comes. Oh, dear. I also asked for help from friends who knew how to work with energy and light to send Carol what energy she needed to release and let go. Prayers are so helpful. The goal is to help your loved one release their souls from the physical form in a gentle, kind, peaceful way. She was a good, kind person and deserved all the grace that I, in my humble way, could send her. When she did finally make transition, I felt the void of energy. Now, what does that mean? Well, over the years, I was sending Carol energy to her life force. And after she passed away, that energy, having no place to go, would return to me. I had to learn to reapply that energy in different ways. I felt an emptiness, for I missed her energy that she held while in physical form. It was gone. Now she is in spirit form. So there is a different energy out there. Very new and one I'm not used to working with. And in that form. So the void is there until my body can readjust itself. And that space is filled with light in Carol's new form. After she passed, I had a little celebration. I was happy that she was released from her broken body and the pain it caused. She is in a better place now. I miss her and life does keep going on. That's where loved ones would want it, for us to not give up. Wow. Sorry, my friends, it's been a while since I've read this, and you can see it still touches me deeply. And for those of you who have visual, yes, I am crying. I think one of the greatest gifts you can give a loved one when making transition is to whisper loving, beautiful messages into their ear. Remind them they are loved and going to a very beautiful place. I hope that I'm given this grace when my time comes. So be aware that you're also experiencing a form of shock and trauma. Now, it's not easy to help a person make transition nor be around them while they're sick. For your own health, may I recommend Rescue Remedy? That is homeopathic treatment designed to help you release shock and trauma out of your body quicker and very gently. You can either put a few drops in your water bottle and sip it all day, or put a few drops in the bathtub and have a little rest and relaxation you need. After all, death is part of life, and we will all take that journey. And yes, I will be doing Rescue Remedy tonight. May you all make a peaceful transition when the time comes, or whatever works best for your highest good and your soul's journey. Wow. Wow. Well, yes, I needed to cry. So now we're going to segue into something that's pretty near and dear to my heart, because it is black magic being used in the world of sports, including martial art. And how far do you go to get the best of your opponent? And, you know, I have a lot of athletes in the family and a lot of athletic friends. And, you know, if you're living and breathing, this can also apply to you. Now, I also wrote this a while back when life was normal. I live in Hawaii, where we just had the Ironman contest, which, you know, we didn't. And this was years ago. The winner of the last three races of the Ironman contest had an accident the night before, putting him in a hospital that disqualified him from Ironman. Now, I didn't look at that as just bad luck on his part or a coincidence. Someone really wanted to win and resorted to black magic to take him out. And they did. The world of sports is an interesting world where you're always trying to get one up on your adversary. And I guess, you know, if you wanted to say the world of business is the same, you can also interchange those words. So I will refer to this as getting one up on your adversary as getting court advantage. All is fair in love and sports. The art of war is deception. Now, pay particular note of this last sentence. Art of war is deception. The world of sports and martial arts is no exception. Practicing the black arts is not limited to only one country. It's very prevalent in Brazil, Japan, USA. We have the dark kahunas here in Hawaii that practice the dark arts. You know, these guys are everywhere. Let's take the world of martial arts just as an example. Now, how far does one go to win? You see it daily. Fighters are always undercutting their weight class for court advantage. And I ask you, does it work when everyone is doing it? And yes, it does give you a slight edge when your opponent does not. People have used steroids and drugs to get that court advantage until they got caught, and it's now illegal. That is something that's easy to catch now. That court advantage is gone. I have witnessed people turn people into the league unfairly for something that was blown out of proportion and untrue. It still got those people removed from the tournament. Remove your competitor that's favored to win, and it's going to be easier for you, right? Another court advantage. Fear of losing along with low self-esteem for yourself and your talents.
New home ownership can be a real eye-opener, but it's the perfect time to look into Homeowner 101 from the Home Depot. Free live streaming workshops taught by expert associates now at homedepot.com/workshops. You'll find indoor and outdoor workshops, even home systems workshops. Plus, you'll get the know-how you need to care for your biggest investment. Master the basics at Homeowner 101, only at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Register now at homedepot.com/workshops.
We'll get people doing whatever they can to win. If you won like that, how can you take pride in that win? If you're a sleazebag, it wouldn't matter, for you have no conscience anyway. Sportsmanship and morality go out the window. How much pride can you have with that win? You win by sinking to new lows. Some people get court advantage by being Brazilian. Oh my God, I said it out loud. This is a known fact, that there is a tie between a Brazilian and a non-Brazilian in the world of Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Just who do you think the Brazilian judges are going to give the win to, especially if it's a tie? It is what is. Yet you can have a fair fight by being the better fighter. Now let's talk about using black magic against your opponent for court advantage. It's done often, and you're saying, what the F? Is she really out there? Am I? Or am I speaking a truth no one else has been able to see? That, my friends, is magic. And these people hide themselves in energy that makes them invisible until you come up against a white magician who dissolves that invisibility shield. If you are adept at magic, you can wreak havoc with your opponent, and they will never have a clue. Big court advantage, I would say. Usually people find that there are adepts at the black arts to do magic against someone for them. Either way, this is immoral, and you're sinking to new lows. Really, if that's the only way you can win, then you suck as a fighter. And then you're going to be proud of your win, that you have not won through your fighting skills, but by unfair means. This is dark and on a satanic level, period. Yes, satanic. Where black magicians will make blood sacrifice so you get that win. Your mind screwing your opponent on a new level, a dark level that will come back to you, which is what we call a karmic return. Now, I'll get to that in a minute. Now, what's it like to be under a spell? Well, it can mess up your whole life. And some of the symptoms are, you're in a daze, you can't concentrate. You have mentally lost the fight before you began. Your stamina's gone. Fighting with people who want to help you, and family fighting, not being able to focus on your career, blowing off career opportunities due to being in a daze you have an accident. If the black magicians are really good and can break up your relationship, your job, hurt your animals, and do bodily harm, even death. Not to mention, ruin your sports career. Yeah, guys, this stuff is real and going on every day to people. So why would the world of sports and martial arts be any different? It's not. Now, what do you do to remove a curse? Well, I'll make it simple. Every day you can do this for yourself, your family, and friends. 1, imagine yourself reconnecting to the Creator and feel that divine energy flow down around you. 2, in your mind, peel off that dark energy, starting at the top of your head, down your body, off your feet, and send it back to God. 3, call the violet flame through your body, transmute all that energy, transmuting it all back to light. Oh my, now I am drinking water, I'm not drinking beer, so just releasing energy as I hiccup, okay? Now, the violet flame is a very high energy, and all you have to do is imagine the violet flame, a purple flame going through it. Because what the violet flame does, it neutralizes and erases cause, effect, record, memory of karma. And it also changes dark to light. All right, and then let yourself be filled with the Creator's energy, and that's it. Now, if you really wanted to go farther, you can add this. If there is anyone out there directing any kind of dark energy at me through voodoo, black magic, or dark witchcraft, or just angry thoughts, I ask their higher self to help them stay set forward in the light of God and stop doing any dark work. And if they choose to continue, which is their free will, I ask their higher self and guardian angel to put them in a position of harmlessness. I surround them in a bubble of mirror that faces them, that's 2 inches from their nose. I put the violet flame in the bubble of mirror to transmute any of their dark energy so they have no forward movement. The bubble of mirror stays up 24/7, 365 days a year until they do works of good. So be it. Now, if this sounds weird, remember you're dealing with magic. Now, that short work will help you stay clear, and your fights are now about skill and nothing else. And if you don't give this attention, you may be giving your opponent the court advantage. Now, I'm just going to address really quick the cheaters and the black magicians that they use. Let me remind you about the law of karma. What you put out will come back to you. What goes around comes around. And karmic return can and will be a bitch. If it's for your highest good, I'm asking that your karma comes back to you for your deeds 10,000-fold. And I step out of the way as it's returned to you. Sucks to be you right now. And fair warning, don't direct any dark energy my way or at my family. For exposing your magic, for the karma return will be over 100,000-fold, and it won't be pretty. Just saying. So it's time for clean sports and fights. I'm not saying you can't work with energy. Great fighters do. Just keep it to the tournament fight with the energy that you use and not dark magic. All right, now we are going to segue and talk about Fukushima and radiation. Now, obviously, this is something that I wrote a long time ago after Fukushima blew up. And Fukushima is a nuclear accident that happened in Japan around 9 years ago and still spitting out all kinds of radiation into the air and the water. And trust me, there's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, okay? And again, because of all my athletic friends, I kind of directed this toward them. But if you are living and breathing and can hear this, you can insert yourself in here also. So I'm writing to all my athletic friends because I know how health conscious you are. And being athletes, you work and train hard. If your heart starts to hurt, back off your training. Take a short break until it calms down. Up front, the radiation can affect your heart. Being focused, you may not have paid much attention to the nuclear accident that happened in Japan about 9 years ago. The one that has not been fixed at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant, so it's been sending radiation to the air and water unchecked all these years. It just got worse. There's even more radiation in the air at record levels. You have friends? There are over 100 cities in the United States with a radiation level over 30 million. And anything over 20 rads is bad. Now, I'm concerned about anyone who's outside, whether work or play, or athletes who work out a lot. Many of these people, including children in junior, senior high school, are having heart attacks because radiation can weaken your heart. And cherry juice can strengthen your heart. This is not the first time we've been nuked. Each generation has had DNA damage, so the kids being born are a lot more delicate than we were 50, 20 years ago. And they're dying of heart attacks. Matter of fact, racehorses are also dying of heart failure. Run like the wind in radiation, and your heart too will explode. So here's a lot more things you can do for radiation cleanse, and these are just a few. Hydrogen peroxide, you put that in bath water, and it puts oxygen back into your body. Call it free oxygen therapy. So I also put salt and baking soda to my bath water, in addition to the peroxide for a good cleanse. So you're going to add 1 cup baking soda with at least a pound of salt, and any kind of salt will do. And then I also add at least a pint to a full quart of peroxide in for a nice cleanse and soak for 20 minutes to whatever. I usually take a movie in with me. That's my time. Now, baking soda will also help clear out some radiation off the body and out of your clothes when you wash them. In the bath, it pulls off toxins, radiation, and aluminum. And the salt does the same. Now, if you don't have a bathtub, then you can also do it in a foot bath. And remember that the water is toxic, so you're going to be careful how you handle the water and throw it away. Get a reverse osmosis water purifier. This method is used to clear water of radiation. And I also add a small rough piece of angelite and shungite to cleanse the water further, and it adds healing minerals to the water. Taking extra vitamins to be healthy, especially the vitamins that strengthen the heart for radiation. That affects the muscles, and your heart is one of the biggest muscles in your body. Making a tea out of ginger root, turmeric, lemon juice with a dash of horseradish, and combined, and these are all natural antibiotics. Eat better food if you can. You can eat organic as much as possible and make effort to juice. And rain and snow are no longer my friend. Why? Because it brings the radiation down. You really don't want that crap on your skin. Now, we're also flying really in high radiation when we fly in an airplane. Then add to that, the planes can and have lost parts due to the radiation stress. It's called the Wagner effect. And did I mention that pilots can lose consciousness in flight? When I also fly, I wear a heavy-duty chemical mask, and now it is the rage, just wearing a mask on the plane. And I put lots of coconut oil on the skin for protection. I wear long-sleeve pants so I don't pick up any chemical residue the airline may or may not have wiped down all the seats with. And I put my mask on the plane before it starts, coming off only when I eat and have landed. And you can get these at any hardware store. So just be aware, guys, that we are also living in high radiation, that no government, no newspaper, no news avenue of any kind is talking about. And you need to take precautions just for that alone. And if you can stay healthy through from radiation, you're going to stay healthy from COVID. All right, now I'm going to close with some funny stuff. At least I think it's funny. All right, so this was overheard at the customer service counter. Good morning, ma'am. May I help you? Yes, I'd like to return this present, please. Well, what seems to be wrong with it? It's defective. Oh, so? Well, first of all, see the way its head is attached? I think it's missing a few screws. Where? Right here. No, they're all here. They're just loose. That can be fixed. Anything else? Yes, ever since I got it. It hasn't worked the way I'd like it to. When I turn the switch on like this, it, ouch, grabs me. See that? If any of my women friends are around, it grabs them too. I think I might be able to fix that here. Let me see what I can do. Yes, I think it'll be okay if this bolt is adjusted. What's the matter? It's odd. It doesn't seem to want to move to the left. It only turns to the right. And there's something else too. It's almost as if it has a mind of its own. You see, I keep a clean house, but right after I brought this present home, it started to dig into my beautiful carpet, destroying it actually. I had to watch it every minute because I knew if I turned my back, there'd be nothing but oily messes all over the house. And those are so ugly and hard to get out, you know. I remember hearing the same complaint about an older model of the same president about 10 years ago. Why did you buy this one in the first place? You didn't. I had my mind made up on another president, one made by another company. But someone else bought this one for me. It's an American product, but it came from a plant in Russia. I thought it was kind of cute at first, you know, with its little hands and that orange stuff on its head. I knew there was something wrong with it from day one. What made you think so? Well, the instructions on the box listed all the things it should do, but it doesn't do much of anything except make a mess or just lie around. I think there's something seriously wrong with its internal workings. There's this other weird thing too. It babbles all the time. It doesn't say anything intelligent or sensible, but every morning around 3 a.m. it goes tweet, tweet, tweet. I realize now that it's not the right president for what I need it to do, so I want to return it and get the one I originally wanted. I'm sorry to tell you this, ma'am, but there's a no return policy on this particular president. I can't return it, but it's practically brand new. It's hardly been used. I want to send it back before it does any more damage. I understand, but we can't do it. Too bad you weren't able to get the president you chose in the first place. That company makes a very good one. In fact, their latest model was one of the best ever. They'll be hard-pressed to make another one of its kind. Even when people abused it, and sometimes they were downright brutal to it, kicking it, throwing it on the floor, stomping on it, it still kept right on working and doing what it was designed to do. Can I trade this one in for the last model? No, I'm sorry, but your president is non-exchangeable. Besides, the last model has been retired. Don't be too discouraged, though. The companies will eventually bring out other models. Their new ones will be available in 2021. 4 years. I have to wait 4 years? Do you have any suggestions what I could do in the meantime? Well, you could write a letter to the manufacturer if enough of their customers are dissatisfied. They just might recall it. Right now, though, there's nothing I can do for you. I'm sorry, I can't help. Oh, that's okay. Thanks anyway. My fault in accepting it at all and waiting to see if it was any good. So I guess I'm stuck with it, huh? Yeah, ma'am, I'm afraid so. All right. This is the funniest one, and I'm closing this out with tonight, the show. And I want you to imagine this actually happening, okay? If you can picture this. And it's called Only a Man Would Attempt This. It's called Pocket Taser Stun Gun, a great gift for the wife. A guy who purchased his lovely wife a pocket taser for their anniversary submitted this. Last weekend, I saw something at Larry's Pistol and Pawn Shop that sparked my interest. The occasion was our 15th anniversary, and I was looking for a little something extra for my wife, Julie. What I came across was a 100,000 volt pocket purse-sized taser. The effects of the taser were supposed to be short-lived, with no long-term adverse effects on your assailant, allowing her adequate time to retreat to safety. Way too cool. Long story short, I bought the device and brought it home. I loaded 2 AAA batteries in the darn thing and pushed the button. Nothing. I was disappointed. I learned, however, that if I pushed the button and pressed it against a metal surface at the same time, I'd get that blue arc of electricity darting back and forth between the prongs. Awesome! Fortunately, I have yet to explain to Julie what that burn spot is on the face of her microwave. Okay, so I was home alone with this new toy, thinking to myself that it couldn't be all that bad with only 2 AAA batteries, right? There I sat in my recliner, my cat Gracie looking on intently, trusting little soul, while I was reading the directions and thinking that I really needed to try this thing out on a flesh and blood moving target. I must admit I thought about zapping Gracie for a fraction of a second and thought better of it. She's such a sweet cat. But if I was going to give this thing to my wife to protect her against a mugger, I did want some assurance that it would work as advertised. Am I wrong? So there I sat in a pair of shorts and a tank top with my reading glasses perched delicately on the bridge of my nose, directions in one hand and taser in another. The directions said that a 1-second burst would shock and disorient your assailant. A 2-second burst was supposed to cause muscle spasms and a major loss of bodily control. A 3-second burst would purportedly make your assailant flop on the ground like a fish out of water. Any burst longer than 3 seconds would be wasting the batteries. All the while, I'm looking at this little device measuring about 5 inches long, less than 3/4 of an inch circumference, pretty cute really, loaded with 2 itsy bitsy AAA batteries, thinking to myself, no possible way. What happened next is almost beyond description, but I'll do my best. I'm sitting there alone, Gracie looking on with her head cocked to one side as if to say, don't do it, dipshit. Reasoning that a 1-second burst from such a tiny little old thing couldn't hurt all that bad, I decided to give myself a 1-second burst just for the heck of it. I touched the prongs to my naked thigh, pushed the button, and holy mother of God, weapons of mass destruction. What the hell? I'm pretty sure Jesse Ventura ran in through the side door, picked me up in the recliner, then body slammed us both on the carpet. Over and over and over again. I vaguely recall waking up on my side in the fetal position, with tears in my eyes, body soaking sweat, both nipples on fire, testicles nowhere to be found, with my left arm tucked under my body in the oddest position and tingling in my legs. The cat was making meowing sounds I have never heard before, clinging to a picture frame hanging above the fireplace. obviously in an attempt to avoid getting slammed by my body flopping all over the living room. Note, if you ever feel compelled to mug yourself with a taser, one note of caution. There is no such thing as a 1-second burst when you zap yourself. You will not let go of that thing until it's dislodged from your hand by a violent thrashing about on the floor. A 3-second burst would be considered conservative. It hurt like hell. A minute or so later, I can't be sure, as time was a relative thing at that point, I collected my wits, what little I had left, sat up and surveyed the landscape. My bent reading glasses were on the mantle of the fireplace. The recliner was upside down and about 8 feet or so from where it originally was. My triceps, right thigh, and both nipples were still twitching. My face felt like it had been shot up with Novocaine, and my bottom lip weighed 88 pounds. I had no control over the drooling. Apparently, I poofed myself, but was too numb to know for sure, and my sense of smell was gone. I saw a faint smoke cloud above my head, which I believe came from my hair. I'm still looking for my nuts, and I'm offering a significant reward for their safe return. P.S. My wife can't stop laughing about my experience. Love the gift, and now regularly threatens me with it. Do you think education is difficult? Try being stupid. Oh, God. Well, I hope you got a laugh out of that. And that is the end of the show. And this is Cathy Bilsky, the Quantum Leap Let Light Unite show on UPRN Radio. And again, this is Friday, September 4th, 2020. Have a very safe Labor Day weekend. And we'll catch you next week. Same time, same place. Be joyful. Do random acts of kindness. And really, keep thinking. Quantum leap, world enlightenment now. Good night and aloha.